I want to start this morning with breaking new details on that deadly mid-air collision between a passenger jet and a military chopper in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, President Trump has confirmed all 64 people on the plane and 3 on the helicopter have died after the aircraft plunged into the Potomac River.
Officials have worked through the night to recover dozens of bodies. This is a live shot right now of that recovery operation underway on the river. This is the deadliest aircraft casualty event on US soil in almost 25 years.
Let's go live to aviation editor Blake Johnson at the Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. Blake, where's that recovery effort up to now?
Servo Nat, good morning to you. Pretty grim news here. The recovery effort is still underway. There are boats behind us on the Potomac River there trying to recover what's left of the plane. We understand it broke into 3 pieces when it hit that waist-deep but very cold water around 9 o'clock last night. At this stage, no survivors, so that'll be 67 people killed, 64 on the plane and 3 on that military helicopter. 28 bodies have been recovered. There is a makeshift morgue on the banks of the river. That's where they are taking the victims when they recover them from the Potomac River. The American Airlines chief executive today fairly quick to point the blame at the military pilot, saying he couldn't work out why that helicopter had drifted into the path of that CRJ 700 as it came into land last night. And air traffic control can be heard asking that helicopter pilot if he had visual recognition of the plane in the seconds before the impact.
Crash. This is alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3. How many souls on board?
And Blake, President Trump has addressed the media. It was quick to lay blame, wasn't he, over the crash? Who was that?
Very quick, Servo, but without a lot of evidence. Donald Trump has blamed Democrat policies and diversity hires for the crash last night. It should be pointed out that there is a distinct lack of leadership within American aviation at the moment. The head of the FAA and the TSA both gone, the Federal Aviation Administration quitting before the Trump administration took over, and then Donald Trump sacked the head of the TSA, the Transportation Safety Admin, on the day of his inauguration. Trump started his press conference today with a moment of silence, but then pretty quickly switched to the blame game.
I speak to you this morning. We must have only the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine?
Blake, we're also learning more about who was on board the American Airlines flight.
Yes, so the figure skating community is overrepresented, it has to be said, with this accident. At least 14 members of that sport were on board, coming from an event in Wichita. There's also talk of the pilots. We're learning this morning that one of the pilots on board was a 28-year-old man, Sam Lilly. American Airlines says he had 2 years' experience. The captain had 6. From back to the figure skating, just quickly, there was one club in Boston that had 6 members of its club on that plane.
Yeah.
Skating is a very close and tight-knit community. I think for all of us, we have lost family. To the best of our knowledge, 14 skaters returning home from the National Development Camp at Wichita, Kansas, put on by U.S. Figure Skating, were lost in the plane crash at Washington, D.C. The 2 coaches, Zhenya Shishkova and Vadim Nomov, top coaches. They were the 1994 World Pair Champions, and they came to us in 2017 and were very much a part of our building the competitive skating program here at the Skating Club of Boston.
Such a sad part of this story, isn't it, Blake? So former US presidents have also come out and made statements themselves on the disaster this morning. What have they had to say?
Servo, we've got the first one from Joe Biden, who's posted on X this morning saying, "Jill and I are praying for the families of the victims who tragically lost their lives in the plane and helicopter crash. We are immensely grateful to the brave first responders and emergency personnel on the scene." And from the Obamas, "Our hearts break for the families who lost loved ones in the tragic plane and helicopter crash. Michelle and I send our prayers and condolences to everyone mourning today, and we're grateful to the first responders doing everything they can to help under extreme extremely difficult circumstances. The airport is now reopened. It opened a couple of hours ago, so it is gradually getting its schedules back on track, even if that recovery effort is still underway out in the river.
Yeah, let's think of them and how such a tragedy could happen at a major airport in the US is just unfathomable, but obviously investigation's continuing. They will go on for many, many months. Thanks, Blake. Let's get more news now. Here's Mon.
Nat, thank you. Good morning. 2 news from home, and Sydney is reeling from yet another spate of anti-Semitic hate attacks as police hunt a ringleader over a terrifying bomb plot. Live to Liam Tapper at Sydney Police Centre. Now, Liam, it's been revealed that a third person on the periphery of the plot investigation has been arrested over links to underworld activity. What are the details here?
Yeah, morning, Mon. Pretty chilling details that have been revealed. Simon Nichols, the 39-year-old man, he has been arrested in relation to what are called kill cars. Now, these cars are those cars that are used, often stolen, used by underworld figures and in gangland shootings. They're those cars, the getaway vehicles, if you will. The one that we often see burnt out. There were 8 found at a Fairfield East warehouse in Western Sydney, which he has now been arrested for. Police investigating how these or whether these cars and Nichols are linked to this caravan that was found in January. Now, there were 2 other arrests, of course, around the periphery, as police keep saying in this investigation. Those 2 people, they aren't directly linked to the caravan that had the explosives in it. Police are, in fact, yet to make an arrest right at this stage, but they are now investigating whether bikies are involved in this, and even offshore figures who may be pulling the strings for these low-level mules who have been acting here in Australia. But this comes as security is beefed up around the eastern suburbs. More police patrols are coming in for these Jewish community members and also places of worship as well, along with schools. As the Jewish community say, Mon, they shouldn't be living in fear every day, but that's how they feel they are.
Yeah, right, Liam Tapper for us there in Sydney. Thank you. Parts of North Queensland could be in for another metre of rain and flash flooding this weekend as a low-pressure system moves towards the coast. Let's go live to Jordan Bissell, who's in Brisbane. Jordan, morning to you. So it's the state's first tropical storm of the season. What do we know so far?
That's right, Mon. At this stage, meteorologists are saying that it is running out of time to actually become a cyclone before it makes landfall, although North Queensland could be set for another 1,000 millimetres of rain this weekend. Now, the heavy rain should persist between Cairns and Townsville and possibly down towards the Central Coast. We did see some Cairns residents able to return to their flooded homes yesterday. Now, despite a low chance of a cyclone, we're being told there is still a lot more rain to come. Supermarket shelves have already been stripped, with predictions supply chains could be further disrupted this weekend. So residents in that area are being urged to keep a really close eye on warnings over the coming days, Mon.
Yes, good advice. All right, thanks very much, Jordan Bissell, for us there in Brisbane. AFL legend Ian Stewart is locked in a battle to have his 3 missing Brownlow medals returned after discovering that they were up for auction. Live to Andrew McCormack in Melbourne. Now, Macca, this is a bizarre story, isn't it? The medals have turned up on the other side of the world.
Absolutely, Mon, and to someone who had no idea that they were in possession of one of the rarest pieces of memorabilia in footy history. Ian Stewart, just one of 4 men to win 3 Brownlow medals, one of those in St Kilda's only ever premiership year of 1966. Now, he says he lent his 3 Brownlow medals to a men's store over 30 years ago in Elsternwick. He's never seen them since. Somehow they've ended up in the UK. The auctioneer says the current owner came into possession of them in a house and contents purchase. This auctioneer, with this auction set to take place in a couple of weeks' time, which Ian Stewart is set to block, or trying to at least, set to fetch $50,000 each. So this person who in the UK had them in a box somewhere sitting in their house, had no idea what a Brownlow medal was, stumbled across them and thought, oh, I'll Google what a Brownlow medal is, and discovered they were sitting on a small fortune. But a bitter legal battle set to play out over the next fortnight as Ian Stewart looks to get his precious Brownlow medals back. They are one of the rarest pieces of silverware in footy history, Mon.
Gosh, there's a big story behind that one, isn't there? All right, Macca, thank you. A retired chief of the Australian Army is sounding the alarm, concerned that the Defence Force is messing up recruiting. Lieutenant General Peter Lay is taking aim at how the ADF is selling itself to young Australians.
Let's focus on that and focus on the fact that it's not easy It shouldn't be advertised as some sort of lifestyle. It's quite a large problem. The force is below strength now.
Mr Lay has also told 7 News that conscription may be required if the government doesn't act fast enough. Princess Kate has made her first royal appearance of the year at a children's hospital near Cardiff in the UK. The princess has been unveiled as the new patron of the Tai Hafan Children's Hospice in Sully. She spent her first day in the role speaking with kids, their parents and also staff members. A Buckingham Palace spokesperson says that the royal is making a, quote, gradual return to official engagements after entering remission from cancer earlier this month.